morning. It's the middle of October, but that doesn't mean things have completely died in the garden. The flowers are doing well, and the popcorn plant is getting ready to bloom. It still smells delicious. The tomatoes are still producing. They're hanging over the side, dangling down. Mostly the dogs eat them these days. They think it's a great treat. The herbs are doing well. The beans are finishing up. They're not doing as great as I would like. Peppers, I don't know if you can see the bright red peppers back there. Dahlias, lantana. So that pot in the middle is tomatillas growing from discards that were too mushy to use. I just tossed them in that pot, and sure enough, they're growing. They won't make it through the winter, so you know, this is the original tomatilla pot. Some of those discards or dropped fruit are growing, but they won't come to anything. I probably should just go ahead and pull everything out. Interestingly, this is blooming, but I don't think there's time for any fruit. Serranos are really coming on strong still, and there's a few poblanos, but not that many. Yeah, this is really winding down up here. My beautiful caladium is dying back. I'm hoping I can save it in the greenhouse over the winter. So the most notable difference in the north garden is not in the garden itself, though I have moved some of the pots around. It's the fact that this tree is gone. I had it taken out a few weeks ago, and so we're getting a lot more sunlight, and I've got more plans. A limb did come down on the fence here, so it's pretty wrecked, but I always knew it was going to be temporary. So I was out here yesterday, and I'm pretty sure those beans were not like that, but that's okay. Well, more to pick in a few minutes when I'm not videoing. There's actually quite a few here. So that tomato is a slicer. It grew from a slice of tomato that I put in compost. Who knows if it'll produce, I mean, if anything will get red before it's time for the first frost, which, as cold as it's been lately, could be any time. Is the pink oxheart tomato. They have very thin skin, and they're very prone to cracking. So, but I'm looking for, hopefully it'll ripen soon and I can pick it. Or I may pick it anyway and let it ripen inside. You never know. The hyacinth bean continues to be incredibly prolific. I mean, it is, I don't know if you can, you probably cannot get even close to the scope of how big it is from here. It is enormous. And that, it's all growing from that one root system. Clearly, it's gone through to the ground. So I can't pull it up. Not yet anyway, but I will. The potatoes I pulled out of the corner. They were getting too shaded out, and I dumped one, which appeared to be completely, had completely died back, but all I got was a handful of very small potatoes. But you can see there's still has some leaves. I have harvested a few carrots. I probably need to go ahead and do that. I mean, they've been in there since March, I think. So it's probably way past time that they came out. I bought pansies the other day and planted them all together. I think they're pretty. This is my front step, I guess, ramp. And I still have a strawberry plant that I need to do something with before next year. Before winter, I guess. We'll get that done soon. So some of you know about this rose bush. Pardon me for not having deadheaded it recently. When my husband was dying, he told me he wanted me to buy a rose bush as his gift to me, sort of a belated Valentine's gift. Said he'd been thinking about it. And this is the one I bought. It's planted here at the base of our ramp going into our house so that I see it every time I come and go. I posted some pictures on Facebook the other day and they were the blossoms were very apricot, and now they're very yellow, which I find quite interesting. It's still beautiful though. So, yeah, I can't. The flower garden in front of my house was recently weeded, and then I started putting down black weed barrier. I need to finish that. It's started, it's not complete, and the grass is growing back. But I also bought new cinder blocks and 4x4s to make a platform, and I have moved the tomatoes that were over in the west garden over here because they're going to get a lot more sun here and a lot more heat. They're definitely more of them getting ripe than there have been, so I think that was a good move. Just a quick glance, the hydrangeas are doing spectacularly well. So cutting back the cosmos definitely improved this bed. The artichokes are doing better, more or less. I mean, they're going to die back anyway for the year. The okra is doing much better. This one especially, this one's big. There's going to be this one okra growing on it. I think there's still time to get a few. I have discovered that picking them when they're about 2 inches long and just eating them on my way into the house is something I can stand. So while I probably will never grow a lot of okra, I'm definitely going to plant some in that front garden bed next year because it's pretty. So, okay, third time's a charm. This is several days later. You'll get back to the original day when I insert this. This is the snow peas, and you can see they're doing quite well. Very abundant. We've been picking them, we've made Chinese, it's been fun. This is the sugar snap peas, which here at 9:30 in the morning are in much more shade, which might be why they're not quite as prolific as the snow peas are. But as you can see, this is a beautiful pea right here. Isn't that pretty? And then the purple one is also quite lovely. The tomatoes are doing, the same as usual. And this cucumber is not really producing anything, but it makes a lovely place for sleepy bees. See, gotta pick some tomatoes today. Don't know what I'm doing with all of these things though. One last thing, figs. Who knew? I had no idea. I don't think they're gonna get ripe, but we might get lucky. I'm so excited. I want figs. Anyway, back to the recording. These are Ildi tomatoes. I put a sucker in the ground and it grew, and they are these have grown bigger than any of the others, but they're also in the ground and not in the in pots, so I think that's the reason. The dogs love them. None of these are split, which means they're edible for me. Yeah, but all these tomatoes are. There's the one Ildi, and I think there are two of the other kind that were volunteers to start with, and they're all just a tangled mess. We can't even mow over here because of... It's late afternoon now. My phone decided to die. Really got to get a new one. Battery issues. So this is the West Garden. I have some new stuff. I have this kale, which is supposed to be ornamental, but I'm hoping it's edible. It certainly looks enough like red Russian kale that it might be. Let's hope so. Swiss chard to the bright lights. One that's yellow, one that's red. Echinacea, a new tansy, the spectacular marigolds. Cabbage and mustard greens that I still have to plant, but as you can see I've got plenty of space because this bed is cleared out. More spectacular marigolds, some lantana in bloom, so that's all good. The French beans they're still producing. They're doing okay. Next year, and I'll definitely plant those again. Next year we'll fill the whole thing with beans, not just the bottom layers. It's really not enough. I need to have more. The beans are pretty much done. They were lovely. The blue cocos were fantastic, but they are pretty much done in. I picked a couple earlier when I made the video the first time. You could have seen it if it was available. The Scarlet Runners are still making beans. You can see there's some right there that I'm going to pick in a second when I turn this off. I'm giving this as much time as it has. As you can see that actually it's still got some blooms on it. And another quick insert because they're so pretty. These are like the last of the blue cocoa beans in all their full and mature glory. Okay, these are the dragon tongue beans. They've done okay. Those are not ready yet. They could get bigger. I'm going to take the kale, which don't you think that looks kind of like it could be that kale over there? Anyway, I'm going to take all of these out, plant them in the ground. Also this cabbage, which is left over from the terrible bug infestation that happened. That's what's left. The zinnias are still have beautiful blossoms. The leaves look kind of mottledy, but that's okay. These are the shelling peas, and they're getting there. They'll grow, which is good. The cotton has burst, so I should have seeds to collect from that. These marigolds are just spectacular. These, I think, all of these I grew from seed, so these are my marigolds. I picked up a couple of tomatoes that had fallen off the ground, fallen off the vine, and because the dogs really like them. Hello, Kima. Jester. There you go, Jester. Sorry, Larry, I only have two. Poor baby. It's not like they haven't had plenty of treats in the last couple of days. So we've been having dog class and training them to be show dogs. Anyway, that's about it. I mean, most everything is dying back. I've got new plants to put in. I still have some hopes of getting some winter crops. And you've seen that in the sunlight, and now you're seeing it in the shade of the waning sun. Sun will be down in about 30 minutes. I hope you had a great day, or having a great day whenever you see this. And thank you so much for joining me.